The coffee shop closed at midnight, but Natalie Brooks still had tables to wipe down and floors to mop. Her feet ached in worn sneakers as she pushed the damp cloth across sticky surfaces. Outside, rain hammered against the windows of the small Brooklyn cafe where she had worked double shifts for the past 3 months. Every dollar mattered now more than ever. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She pulled it out, hoping for good news, but expecting nothing. The screen showed her bank balance, $73 until Friday. Rent was due tomorrow, and Tyler needed new shoes for school. The ones he wore now had holes in the soles that she covered with cardboard every morning. A mother's desperation, Natalie locked the cafe door behind her and stepped into the rain. The cold drops soaked through her thin jacket as she hurried toward the bus stop. Her mind raced with calculations she had done 100 times before. If Derek would just send the child support he promised, everything would be okay. He always had excuses, always had reasons why the money would come next week or next month. She sat on the bus, watching the city lights blur through wet windows. Tyler was staying with her neighbor tonight, giving Natalie time to work late. She missed his small hand in hers, his endless questions about the world. He deserved so much more than this constant struggle. The message that started it all back. In her small apartment, Natalie collapsed onto the second-hand couch. Her phone felt heavy in her hand as she stared at Derek's contact information. 3 months of broken promises. 3 months of avoiding his calls because she knew they would only bring more lies. Tonight, something inside her snapped. She typed. Quickly, her fingers moving faster than her thoughts. The message poured out like water from a broken dam. She mentioned the money he owed, the promises he made, and the life Tyler deserved. Then, in a moment of desperate inspiration, she added a line about the Kensington deal. Derek had mentioned it once during an argument, bragging about connections he claimed to have with some big company. She had no idea what it really meant, but she used it anyway. Her thumb hovered over the send button. Part of her knew this was reckless, but exhaustion and frustration pushed her forward. She pressed send and immediately felt the weight of her action settle in her chest. An unexpected reply. The response came within seconds. 3 words glowed on her screen that made her heart stop. "Who is this?" Natalie blinked at the message, confusion flooding through her tired mind. She checked the number. It was not Derek's. Her stomach dropped like a stone into dark water. She had sent that angry, desperate message to a complete stranger. "I'm so sorry," she typed quickly. "Wrong number. Please delete that message." The reply came faster than she expected. "You mentioned Kensington Industries. How do you know about the deal?" Her hands started shaking. What had she done? She tried to explain, her fingers fumbling over the keyboard. She told the truth about Derek, about the overheard conversation, about her mistake. But the responses kept coming, each one more direct than the last. "What's your address?" Natalie dropped her phone onto the couch cushions. Panic rose in her throat like bile. This could not be happening. She was just tired, just desperate, just trying to get help for her son. Now some stranger was asking where she lived. She did not answer. She could not answer. When danger arrives, her phone buzzed again, and what she saw made the blood drain from her face. Her own address appeared on the screen, typed out in complete detail, apartment number and all. This person knew where she lived. Natalie rushed to the window, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst. The street below looked empty at first. Rain continued to fall in silver sheets under the streetlights. Then she saw them. Headlights cutting through the darkness. A sleek black car pulling to a stop directly in front of her building. "No. No. No," she whispered, backing away from the window. Her mind raced through impossible options. Call the police and tell them what? That she had texted a stranger who was now outside her apartment? Run? Where would she go? Tyler was at the neighbor's apartment just 2 floors down. The car door opened. A tall figure emerged, dressed in an expensive dark coat. even from 4. Stories up, Natalie could sense the authority in the way this person moved. Another man followed, bigger and clearly there for protection. The knock that changed everything. Footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Natalie pressed herself against the wall near her door, listening to the steady climb of expensive shoes on old wooden stairs. Her phone buzzed one more time. "Open the door, Miss Brooks. We need to talk about what you know." They knew her name. They knew her address. They knew everything. The knock came soft but firm, the sound of someone who expected to be let in. Natalie's hands trembled as she reached for the doorknob. Every instinct screamed at her to stay silent, to pretend she was not home. But the message on her phone told her they already knew the truth. With a deep breath that felt like diving underwater, she turned the lock and opened the door. The man standing in her doorway was not what she expected. He was younger than she imagined, maybe in his mid-30s, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to see straight through her. His suit probably cost more than her entire year's rent. Behind him stood a mountain of a man whose presence filled the narrow hallway. "Miss Brooks," the first man said, his voice smooth but carrying an edge of steel. "My name is Owen Kensington, and you just became the most interesting problem I have encountered this year." Natalie stood frozen, her hand still gripping the doorknob as Owen Kensington studied her with unsettling intensity. His presence filled the cramped hallway of her building, making everything around him seem smaller and shabbier. The expensive fabric of his coat caught the dim light from her apartment, and she noticed rain droplets clinging to his shoulders like tiny diamonds. "I don't understand," Natalie managed to whisper, her voice barely audible over the pounding of her heart. "I made a mistake. I was trying to text someone else." Owen's expression remained unreadable as he glanced past her into the modest apartment. His eyes swept over the cramped space, taking in the second-hand furniture and the stack of bills visible on the kitchen counter. When his gaze returned to her face, something in his features softened almost imperceptibly. "Your mistake involved mentioning a confidential business deal that only 5 people in the world know about," Owen said quietly. "3 of those people work for me. 1 is a foreign investor. The 5th person is currently under investigation for corporate espionage." Caught in something bigger. The words hit Natalie like physical blows. Corporate espionage. Investigation. These were terms from movies and news stories, not from her small life of coffee shops and unpaid bills. She shook her head, stepping back into her apartment. "I don't know anything about any of that," she said, hearing the desperation creep into her voice. "My ex-boyfriend mentioned your company once. He was bragging about knowing important people. I just used the name to make him think I was serious about getting the child support he owes me." The large man behind Owen, who had remained silent until now, touched his earpiece and leaned forward. "Sir, we have movement on the street. 2 vehicles just pulled up. They're not ours." Owen's jaw tightened. His eyes locked onto Natalie with sudden urgency. "Who else did you tell about this message? Who else knows you contacted me?" "Nobody," Natalie said, confusion mixing with growing fear. "I just sent the text 20 minutes ago. I haven't told anyone anything because I didn't mean to send it in the first place." No way out, Owen pulled out his phone, his fingers moving rapidly across the screen. Whatever he saw there made his expression harden. He looked back at Natalie, and for the first time, she saw something that looked like concern in his eyes. "Miss Brooks, I need you to listen carefully," Owen said, his voice low and controlled. "The people who are watching this building right now are not friendly. If they're here, it means someone leaked information about my movements tonight. It also means they think you're important enough to monitor." Natalie felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. This could not be real. She was a waitress, a single mother barely making ends meet. How had one stupid text message turned into this nightmare? "I need to get Tyler," she said suddenly, pushing past the fog of panic. My son. He's at my neighbor's apartment. Owen nodded to the large man. Vincent, secure the child. 2 floors. Down. He looked back at Natalie. Which apartment? 2C, Natalie said, already moving toward the door. But I'm coming with you. No, Owen said firmly, his hand catching her arm gently but with undeniable strength. Vincent will bring him. Here, you stay with me. We have about 3 minutes before whoever is outside makes their move. A mother's instinct, Natalie wanted to argue, wanted to run down those stairs and grab Tyler herself, but something in Owen's voice told her he was right. Vincent disappeared into the hallway, moving with surprising speed for such a large man. She turned back to Owen, her whole body shaking. What's happening? Please, just tell me what's happening. Owen stepped fully into her apartment, closing the door behind him. He moved to the window, staying to the side as he looked down at the street. The dim light from outside cast shadows across his face, making him look both dangerous and somehow protective at the same time. 3 weeks ago, someone inside my company tried to sell information about a technology acquisition to foreign competitors, Owen explained, his voice calm despite the tension radiating from his body. We've been tracking the leak. Your message tonight contained specific phrasing that matched internal communications from that breach. Natalie pressed her hands to her face, trying to process what he was saying. But I just made it up. I overheard Derek talking once about knowing someone at Kensington Industries. I thought he was lying like he always does. Connections revealed Owen, turned from the window, his dark eyes searching her face with an intensity that made her feel exposed. What's your ex-boyfriend's full name? Derek Walsh, Natalie said. We were together for 3 years. He left when I got pregnant with Tyler. He shows up every few months making promises and then disappears again. She watched Owen's expression change as recognition flashed across his features. He pulled out his phone again, typed something quickly, and then showed her the screen. A photo appeared of Derek standing next to a man in a business suit outside a sleek office building. That's him, Natalie whispered, pointing at Derek. Who's the other man? His name is Gregory Pierce. He was my head of acquisitions until 2 weeks ago when we discovered he was the one selling information. Owen's voice carried a sharp edge now. If your ex-boyfriend knows Pierce, then you're not caught in this by accident. You were always part of the picture. The revelation knocked the breath from Natalie's lungs. All those months of Derek's mysterious absences, his vague explanations about business opportunities, his sudden interest in her life whenever he reappeared. She had thought he was just irresponsible and selfish, but this was something far worse. Trust in chaos Vincent returned with Tyler in his arms. The boy was still half asleep, his small face confused as he blinked in the bright lights of the apartment. When he saw his mother, he reached for her immediately. Mommy? What's happening? Who are these people? Natalie took her son from Vincent, holding him close and breathing in the familiar scent of his hair. It's okay, baby. We're okay. She looked at Owen over Tyler's head. What do we do now? Owen's phone buzzed. He read the message, his jaw tightening. Vincent, how many exits are covered? All of them, sir. Front, back, and the fire escape. They're positioning for entry. Natalie's arms tightened around Tyler. Please, he's just a little boy. He has nothing to do with any of this. Owen met her eyes, and in that moment, Natalie saw past the billionaire exterior to something more human underneath. He looked at Tyler with an expression that held both determination and something that looked almost like understanding. I know, Owen said softly. Then his voice became firm again. Vincent, we're going to the roof. Call for the helicopter. We have maybe 2 minutes. A leap of faith, they moved quickly through the apartment. Vincent led the way, checking the hallway, before gesturing them forward. Natalie carried Tyler, following Owen up a narrow staircase she had never used before. Her legs burned as they climbed higher, Tyler's weight solid and reassuring in her arms. The roof door burst open onto cold night air and driving rain. The city spread out around them, lights twinkling through the storm like stars reflected in dark water. In the distance, Natalie heard the distinctive sound of helicopter blades cutting through the weather. Owen stood close to her, his presence a shield against the wind. "I know you have no reason to trust me," he said, speaking directly into her ear so she could hear him over the noise. "But I promise you, I will keep you and your son safe. Whatever Derek involved you in, whatever danger you're facing now, I will handle it." Natalie looked into his eyes, searching for deception and finding only honest intensity. Tyler stirred in her arms, and she made a choice that would change everything. "Okay," she said. "I trust you." The helicopter descended toward them, its lights piercing through the rain. Owen's hand found the small of her back, steadying her as the powerful wind from the rotors whipped around them. As they prepared to board, Natalie caught movement from the roof access door. Vincent moved to intercept, but Owen had already seen it. He pulled Natalie and Tyler behind him, his body becoming a barrier between them and whatever threat emerged from the darkness. In that protective gesture, Natalie felt something shift inside her chest. This stranger had risked everything to protect them, had believed her story when he had every reason not to. The helicopter touched down on the rooftop, and Owen guided them toward safety. As they lifted off into the stormy night, leaving her old life far below, Natalie held her son close and wondered if she had just been rescued or if she had simply traded one complicated situation for another. But when she glanced at Owen sitting across from her, his eyes still watchful and protective, she felt something she had not experienced in years: hope. The helicopter cut through the storm, carrying them away from the only life Natalie had ever known. Tyler pressed his face against her shoulder, his small body trembling from cold and confusion. She wrapped her jacket tighter around him, whispering reassurances she was not sure she believed herself. Through the rain-streaked windows, the city lights faded into a blur of gold and silver. Owen sat across from them, his phone pressed to his ear as he spoke in clipped, urgent tones. Even in crisis, he commanded respect and attention. Natalie watched him coordinate their safety with the same intensity she imagined he used to build his empire. When he finally ended the call, his eyes found hers through the dim cabin light. "We're going to my private estate outside the city," Owen said, leaning forward so she could hear him over the helicopter noise. "It's secure. Nobody will find you there." "For how long?" Natalie asked, her voice hoarse from fear and exhaustion. "I have a job. Tyler has school. We can't just disappear." Owen's expression softened in a way that transformed his entire face. "Right now, staying visible means staying in danger. Give me 48 hours to figure out what Derek and Pierce were planning, then we can make decisions about what comes next." A sanctuary in the storm. The estate emerged from the darkness like something from a dream. Sprawling gardens surrounded. A modern mansion built of glass and stone, perched on a hillside overlooking the Hudson River. Security lights illuminated the grounds as the helicopter landed on a private pad behind the main house. Vincent helped them disembark, leading them through a side entrance into warmth and safety. The interior took Natalie's breath away. High ceilings, elegant furniture, and artwork that probably belonged in museums. But Owen did not give her time to feel intimidated. He guided them up a curved staircase to a guest suite that was larger than her entire apartment. "The bedroom has everything you need," Owen said, opening doors to reveal a space decorated in soft blues and creams. "There's a bathroom through there, and the closet has clothes in various sizes. Help yourself to anything." Tyler lifted his head from Natalie's shoulder, his eyes wide as he took in the enormous room. "Mommy, is this a castle?" Owen crouched down. To Tyler's eye level, his expression gentle. "Not quite a castle, but it's safe. And tomorrow morning the kitchen will have anything you want for breakfast. What's your favorite?" "Pancakes," Tyler whispered shyly. With chocolate chips. Then chocolate chip pancakes it is, Owen said with a smile that reached his eyes. He stood, meeting Natalie's gaze. Get some rest. We'll talk in the morning. Unexpected kindness after Owen left. Natalie gave Tyler a quick bath and found pajamas. In the closet that almost fit him. He fell asleep within minutes, exhausted from the night's chaos. She sat on the edge of the massive bed, watching his chest rise and fall, trying to process everything that had happened. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. She opened the door to find a woman in her 40s holding a tray of food. Mr. Kensington thought you might be hungry, the woman said warmly. I'm Sophie Chen, his executive assistant and old friend. May I come in? Natalie stepped aside, grateful for a friendly face. Sophie set the tray on a small table near the window and gestured for Natalie to sit. The food was simple but perfect. Soup, fresh bread, and tea that smelled like comfort. I know this must be overwhelming, Sophie said, taking the chair across from her. Owen explained the situation. I want you to know that he's one of the good ones. He won't let anything happen to you or your son. Natalie wrapped her hands around the warm mug of tea. I don't understand why he's helping us. We're strangers. I caused him problems. Sophie smiled knowingly. Owen lost his younger sister in a car accident 5 years ago. She had a son about Tyler's age. When Owen sees a mother protecting her child, it touches something deep inside him. He'll move mountains to keep families safe. Pieces coming together. Morning came with sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. Tyler woke up excited about the promised pancakes, and Natalie could not deny him a moment of happiness. They found their way downstairs to a kitchen where a chef was already preparing breakfast. Tyler's eyes lit up when he saw the stack of chocolate, chip pancakes waiting for him. Owen appeared in casual clothes, jeans, and a sweater that made him look younger and somehow more approachable. He poured himself coffee and sat at the kitchen island with them, asking Tyler about his favorite subjects in school and his dreams for the future. Natalie watched the interaction with growing warmth. This billionaire, who could be anywhere in the world, chose to spend his morning making her son feel special. After breakfast, Sophie took Tyler to explore the game room, leaving Owen and Natalie alone. The easy atmosphere shifted as Owen pulled out his tablet and opened several files. I spent the night investigating, Owen said, his voice serious but not unkind. Derek Walsh has been working with Gregory Pierce for 8 months. They were using information from my company to create a competing technology platform. Your message scared them because they thought you knew details about their operation. Natalie felt sick. Derek used me. All those times he came back asking questions about my life, pretending to care. He was looking for leverage. He made a mistake, though, Owen continued. He underestimated you. You're stronger than he realized, and you reached out for help in a way that exposed his entire scheme. Walls coming down over the next 2 days, Natalie watched Owen work to untangle the web Derek and Pierce had created. But she also saw beyond the businessman to the person underneath. He played card games with Tyler in the evenings. He asked about her dreams of becoming a designer, looking at her sketches with genuine interest. He shared stories about his own childhood, about building his company from nothing, about the loneliness that came with success. On the 3rd evening, they stood together on the terrace overlooking the river. Tyler was asleep upstairs, exhausted, from a day spent exploring the estate grounds. The stars reflected on the water's surface, and the air smelled of approaching autumn. I arrested Derek and Pierce this afternoon, Owen said quietly. They're facing charges that will keep them away for a long time. You're safe now. You can go home. Natalie should have felt relieved, but instead, her heart felt heavy. Going home meant leaving this place, leaving Owen. In 3 days, he had shown her a kindness and respect she had never experienced. He had protected her son, believed her story, and treated her like an equal despite their different worlds. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "For everything. You saved our lives." Owen turned to face her, and in his eyes, she saw the same conflict she felt. "Natalie, I need to tell you something. These past few days, getting to know you and Tyler, it's been the most real I've felt in years. My world is filled with people who want something from me. But you never asked for anything except safety for your son. A choice that changes everything." Natalie's breath caught as Owen stepped closer. The space between them felt charged with possibility and fear. She had built walls around her heart after Derek's betrayal, promised herself she would never trust someone with power over her again. But Owen was different. She saw it in the way he looked at Tyler, in the patience he showed when she asked questions, in the vulnerability he revealed in quiet moments. "I don't fit in your world," Natalie whispered. "I'm a waitress with a high school diploma and a 5-year-old son. You're a billionaire who runs a technology empire." Owen reached out, his fingers gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. The touch sent electricity through her entire body. "You fit perfectly in the only world that matters to me. The one where people are genuine and kind and brave enough to fight for what they love." "Owen," she breathed his name like a prayer and a question. He cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs tracing the line of her cheekbones. "I'm not asking you to decide anything tonight, but I want you to know that these doors are always open to you. Both of you. Not out of obligation or protection, but because somewhere in the chaos of that night, I started falling for a woman who faced impossible odds with nothing but courage and love for her child." Tears slipped down Natalie's cheeks. She had spent so long being strong, being independent, protecting herself from more pain. But standing here with Owen, she felt something crack open inside her chest. Hope, trust, the terrifying possibility of love. New beginnings. She kissed him. It was gentle at first, tentative, like testing the temperature of unknown water. But then Owen pulled her closer, and the kiss deepened into something that felt like coming home and flying at the same time. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Natalie saw her own wonder reflected in his eyes. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Scared this is too good to be true. Scared I'll wake up and find out it was just a dream." Owen rested his forehead against hers. "Then let's be scared together. Let's figure it out one day at a time. No pressure, no expectations. Just see where this takes us." The next morning, Natalie did not pack to leave. Instead, she and Tyler stayed for breakfast and lunch and dinner. Days turned into weeks. Owen enrolled Tyler in an excellent school nearby and hired a tutor to help Natalie finish her design degree. But more than the material support, he gave them something neither had experienced before. A partner who showed up, who kept promises, who loved them not for what they could provide, but for who they were. Love without limits. 6 months later, Natalie stood in the same spot on the terrace where Owen had first confessed his feelings. But now she wore a ring on her finger and carried a portfolio of designs that had caught the attention of major fashion houses. Tyler called Owen Dad without hesitation, and the sound filled their home with joy. Owen wrapped his arms around her from behind, pulling her close. "Any regrets?" he murmured against her hair. Natalie leaned back into his embrace, watching the sunset paint the river in shades of gold and pink. She thought about that desperate night when she had sent a message to the wrong number, never imagining it would lead her here, to love, to family, to a future that exceeded every dream she had been afraid to dream. "Not a single one," she whispered, turning in his arms to kiss him as the stars began to appear overhead. The wrong text had brought them together, but it was the right hearts that kept them there. Love had found them in the chaos, and together, they built something neither could have created alone. A family, a home, a life filled with second chances and endless possibilities. And somewhere in the night, if you listened carefully, you could hear the sound of Tyler's laughter echoing through the halls. The truest proof that sometimes the biggest mistakes lead to the most beautiful destinations. The end.